So they all have very similar names. Menlo figa, Menlo cornuto, cornicello, or cornicello. And then we have the simoruta. And we'll also kind of touch base on some protective stones that are well known in some regions and the origins or why they're there. And so those are kind of the things that when you learn about these charms, it's not just like the charm itself that is protective, because yes, it's connected to the gestures and that is protective, but it's also the way you receive it, it's the way you interact with it, it's the way you treat it. Hi witches, welcome back to my channel. It's me, your local chaotic witch hunt, and if you're wondering why it looks like I'm sitting funny, it's because I am, because I have a pinched nerve in my neck. So please be patient with me. It just restricts my ability to like tilt my head back, which is fine. I just won't be looking up a lot. So yeah, please don't make any weird comments about like, why does it look like you're in pain? I am in pain. Today is a video that's a mini guide on Italian and Italian American protective charms. We are talking through a lot of different kind of charms that you will see mentioned when we talk about Italian folk magic and Italian American folk magic, as well as maybe a little bit of their origin or why we have them. So there are lots of different ones. The important thing to know and something to know about a lot of the protective charms we have is that they come from either protective plants or protective gestures. So like this, that's a protective gesture. This, also a protective gesture. You don't need an amulet to protect you from the evil eye, or if you can't get one, doing a gesture such as the mano figa, this, with the mano cornuto, very, very discreetly, like never do this at someone's face, but like under the table, like a little, you know, perfect. Can protect you from the evil eye. The mano figa is actually a derogatory gesture, meaning pussy. And the corno is phallic in nature and is fashioned to maybe look like an eland horn, or the corno, not the mano cornuto. So they all have very similar names. Menlo figa, Menlo cornuto, cornicello, or cornicello. And then we have the simoruta, and we'll also kind of touch base on some protective stones that are well known in some regions and the origins or why they're there. So one of the most well known is the cornicello. It's the one I usually wear, or the little horn. It's not a chili pepper, it's a horn. It's also called a corno or corno porta fortuna. The cornicello is very big in Italian American culture. You can often see people who are Italian American wearing it in movies. You may also notice the little devil horns on the mano cornuto done at someone when they talk about the melocchio, as this is a protective gesture. The cornicello traditionally was worn by men to the phallic nature, but this has changed over time and through diasporic practices. While originally it was probably worn by men, now anyone of any gender can wear it. Another well-known protective amulet is the simoruta. So the simoruta was definitely one that was fashioned and got more popular through the writings of Raven Grimassi. And it's fashioned like a rue branch and carries many different protective charms such as a moon, a key, a sacred cross. In my research and in a decent amount of sources, it said that this was traditionally hung upon above an infant's bed because it has kind of all these different protective charms. It was written a lot, like I said, by Raven Grimassi, so it became very popular in the diaspora. I think the first thing that I saw, like I once saw someone on TikTok wearing a simoruta who was not Italian American, and I was like, how did you get that? Where'd you get that? One of the charms that is lesser known I found is the mano figa or the mano figa, where mano means hand and figa means slang for a woman's genitals. Rue's Kitchen's blog by Mary Grace Farin writes of the mano figa. The Neapolitan custom of making mano fico charms from silver, sacred to the moon goddess Luna, and blood coral, sacred to the sea goddess Venus, hints at the cultural survival of a link between the vulva gesture and ancient Roman goddess worship. This charm, like the mano cornuta, can also be done to protect the evil eye. I like to do this behind my back when I'm like, jealousy. So the mano figa is interesting because it also is present in a lot of different cultures. It was recorded in Spain in the 17th century, and then kind of Spanish born or Hispanic azabache were born from that. Originally, there's some hints at or some research done around where the mano figa came from. And its origins, no one really knows. That's one of the things about like these long-term amulets is that no, we don't really know the origin, but a friend of mine once did a post about how during the festival of La Morelia in ancient Rome, this gesture was made while someone spit beans from their mouth. So it's possible that it comes from ancient Etruscan beliefs, ancient Italic tribes beliefs, ancient Roman beliefs, or that it came from somewhere else and transferred into Italy. So many of these charms are often made of gold or silver and sometimes red coral, which is also seen as a protective stone against the evil eye. Wearing a red coral piece of red coral jewelry can protect you, as can amber. I haven't found a lot of resources on amber. This was written by Gail Faith Edwards. The limited information on amber and its usage in German folk magic makes me believe that it may be more of a northern tradition, but if you are Southern Italian or Southern Italian diasporic and you use amber as a protective stone, let me know in the comments. There are other stones and amulets often used to protect in Italian and Italian American folk magic, like a scapular or scapulari, a Western Christian garment worn about the shoulders. They're often filled with things too, so like little protective bags. They can be protective and devotional. More often when I took the Scapulari class with Mary Beth Bonfiglio, it was emphasized that they are devotional. And they're often embroidered or decorated in certain ways. Breve bags and abatini bags are versions of charm bags in Italian folk magic that can also be protective. A breve is often made quickly out of necessity, and an abatini is a bag that is used throughout the life of the person it is made for. It includes things and charms that were blessed with them when they got baptized, sometimes containing specific materials that were hidden under the shirt at baptism. Both breve or abatini can be decorated as well. So Sabina Magliocco also writes of specific stones. A number of naturally occurring stones and found objects were thought to have apotropaic qualities and were carried in the pocket as protection or incorporated into other amulets. For example, arrow or spear points from Paleolithic sites such as Pietre della Saiata, were believed to be the physical manifestations of lightning and to be both the cause of and a form of protection against strokes. In some areas of southern Italy, women would find round or kidney-shaped stones of iron-rich clay that rattled from the loose minerals trapped inside. Through sympathetic magic, these became known as pietra della gravidanza, or pregnancy stones, and were believed to protect pregnant women and allow them to carry to term successfully. Pietre del sangue, or bloodstones, were red-spotted jasper thought to stop bleeding if applied to a wound. And then we have pietre stregone, witch stones, pietre stellari, star stones, polyphoric pebbles, whose tiny spots were popularly interpreted as stars, and they were thought to protect against witchcraft. These stones were sometimes carved into cross-shaped amulets and combined with figures of Christian saints, the Virgin Mary or Jesus, to enhance their powers. We also have the Eyes of St. Lucy, or Occhio di Santa Lucia. There are specific shells found in the Mediterranean shores that are considered protective and can be worn against evil eye and favors luck. I'm going to collect some of my kind of apotropaic things to show you and how I wear them. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about belief and customs around Italian American amulets. And we're going to go from there. In my plate of protective things here, we're going to start off with the ones I first mentioned, which is the mano cornuto, the cornicello, and the mano figa. So a mano figa is an amulet shaped like the gesture. The corno, which is just like the little Italian horn. There are many variations of the horn. You'll see it a lot in gold, but you'll also see it stylized in red. And that is because it originally was made of coral. This is a little charm bundle that was a gift. It has garlic. Here are all my coral pieces. So I do think red coral is like one of my favorite protective stones. I try not to get a lot of it because it is one of those things that is more endangered, but you can see it looks a bit like eyes. And here, the Occhio di Santa Lucia, just little shells that look like eyes. They're protective, and these were sent to me as a gift, along with this stone, which I actually have to pull out of the sun. It's starting to get a little stained. It looks like a cross. There are a lot of different protective amulets. The beliefs around some of these, and I actually don't have a Simaruta, which is the one fashioned out of a rue branch. I also don't have my own like Menofiga. The belief surrounding these protective charms is that they have to be gifted. And what that means is that you can't buy it for yourself, it has to be gifted to you in order to maintain its protection. Now this theory comes from the belief that having someone care about you, having that communal protection is what makes the charm powerful, not the charm on its own. Of course, the things like the cornuto and the figa do have that kind of protective gesture attached to it, but actually being gifted it by someone who loves you is incredibly important and a really kind of nuanced part of this thing of receiving a protective charm that allows it to be protective to you. And I will say this, I have bought myself protective things and I have received them as gifts or in trades of protective amulets. And the ones that were given to me always last longer and are able to withstand more than the ones that are I got for myself. Now that could be a testament to me buying cheap things, right? But like I have little corno earrings. I'm not wearing them right now, but and I have my Menofiga earrings. My Menofiga earrings have persevered, and my cornicello that was passed down to me from my grandma after she passed away continues to persevere. The Menofiga I got as a gift continues to persevere. There are lots of other protective things that I am not aware of that maybe other people in Italy or in the Italian diaspora can talk about. I wanted to really focus on jewelry and like amulets and their origins and why we use them, and also how to clean them, because that's an important thing that I did not learn. If you are wearing it with the belief that it's absorbing evil eye or negativity, make sure you take it off like once in a month and just clean it. Mary Grace Farren in her book Italian Folk Magic has an amazing method for this where it's I believe you submerge it in salt and then wipe it off. I like to submerge mine or run it under running water or holy water and then clean it. But salt as this kind of purifying thing is really important. So the other thing we can talk about too is the beliefs around seeing it and how to protect it when someone compliments it, like you rub a little bit of spit on it is one way that I learned. You're like, well, it doesn't mean anything to me. But symbols of Catholicism like rosaries, saint medals, crosses are also considered protective in Italian folk magic and Italian American folk magic. That is due to that kind of syncretization. But when we talk about kind of it not being seen traditionally, Abbatini bags, brevi bags, charm bundles are going to be pinned where someone doesn't see that you have it on you. The hiddenness in a way is part of the protection. The kind of hiding it from view is part of the protection. There's also elements of like if you receive a brevi bag or an Abbatini bag, you're not supposed to know what's in it, which is why sometimes people, one of my peers and kind of teachers got one as a gift and then was like, what's in it? And she's like, no, you can't know that. And so those are kind of the things that when you learn about these charms, it's not just like the charm itself that is protective, because yes, it's connected to the gestures and that is protective, but it's also the way you receive it, it's the way you interact with it, it's the way you treat it. If we consider kind of these gestures as living protective mechanisms and these amulets as living protective extensions of that, we have to show respect to them, we have to treat them with respect. This isn't saying that you can't like be super clear with someone that you want one as a gift. Do you know how long I've been bothering my mom for an amulet? Like a specific one, 3 years. And she hasn't gotten it me yet. But I've been like, I want it every single year. My birthday and Christmas, it's on my list. So it's about, you can literally be as upfront as you want of like, this is what I want. Get it for me. But I also find that kind of the communal aspect of protection, receiving things, having someone do something for you is intrinsic to the protective elements of the amulet, of the brevi bag, of the Abbatini yourself. And that I think is something that is often glossed over. If you're interested in reading further on Italian American protective rituals, etc., you can read Melocchio by Agatha de Santis. It is one of my favorite books. It talks a lot about some of the amulets that I didn't talk about here that are more common in where they come from, history, where they can be traced to. And the Tradition of Segnatore by Dr. Angela Pucca, that kind of paper that talks a lot about how Tradition of Segnatore words and gestures functions in modern day Italy. Both are going to be really beneficial to anyone in here. And obviously, I am not someone who knows everything, so feel free to conduct your own research on the amulets listed. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and don't pinch a nerve in your neck. Siate benedetti.